We're live. Hi everyone, my name is Andreas. I work in the retail and technology sector in the UK here in Google. And today I'm joined by a very special guest who we have with us today. And his name is Ben Griffin. And I'm going to let Ben introduce himself.
Thanks, Andreas. So hi everyone, my name is Ben Griffin. I'm a shopping specialist in the UK and a 4-year Googler. Hopefully you'll get some benefits out of the content that we put together for you today. And saying that, shall we begin?
Yeah, I think overall the key message from speaking to Ben is you're going to win when it comes to shopping in Q4. We understand this is a really important time for retailers. We've seen so much money increase over time and be spent on Google Shopping that we think it's worth highlighting again, just to make sure you're in the best possible shape and win as much as you can in Q4. So now I'm going to select Ben here and hand over to Ben.
So let's kick off with obviously the most important part of shopping, the foundation of the house, so to speak. It's feeds. So for those that aren't familiar, the process is a fairly short one. Essentially, you have your business's website. From that, you will create a feed, and that's created normally in two different formats, The first one is a master file, which is essentially just a huge data dump of all your products and all the details that is essentially manipulated by a series of rules to create a Google feed. Alternatively, some of you might be using a site scraping solution that essentially crawls your website and picks out specific details, again, to format it in a Google feed. From there, this is pushed to the Merchant Center, at which point the Merchant Center then essentially sends a crawl against your feed back to the website to confirm that all the details you've given us are correct. And then ultimately, what you get is a series of shopping ads showing up like the above. Now, when it comes to Q4, the most important thing, bar none, is your feed and the freshness of the feed. So you've got to be able to ask yourself and answer in the affirmative, can I update my feed more than once a day? Because, for instance, if you have category managers or product managers frequently changing prices throughout the day, and this might be, in an exceptional case, just on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the core peak days, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with your prices on your website and in your feed out of sync. Out of sync prices means disapproved products. Disapproved products means lost revenue for you. And in most cases, the products that are actually disapproved are the ones that are on promotion, because they're the ones that are having the prices changes. And thus there's a lack of synchronization between the Merchant Center and the website. If you can't update it more than once a day at the moment, and you don't think you're going to be able to put something in place to do that by kind of Black Friday time, then your best bet is to look at automatic item updates. This is essentially using schema.org to change the structure of your website slightly to pick out particular attributes like price, availability, title, description. And it does so in such a uniform way that our crawlers can't mistake that. And so if we see that there's a price mismatch, we crawl a landing page, and automatic item updates essentially immediately updates that price in the Merchant Center and keeps your products live. Equally, it also does this for availability. So if you have problems with products going out of stock on the day, this is bar none the quickest way to keep, prevent you from bidding on products that are out of stock. Another thing I would kind of put to you is to know when your prices change on the day. So obviously speak to the merchandising team, speak to the product managers, the category managers, and find out if there's a plan to do this. What we've seen last year, which is kind of a worst case scenario, is advertisers would pull the feed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. That would go to the Merchant Center to be processed. By the time everyone got in, all the staff got in, they'd start to make price changes, be it to keep in line with competitors or just to actually activate the promotion for the first time. And then what happened is by 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, those prices had changed. There was a mismatch between the feed, in most cases, again, the promotional items, and those products ended up being completely offline for most of Black Friday because the retailer had physically no way to upload a new updated feed. So again, just to kind of summarize that, if you don't have a way to upload feeds multiple times a day, what you need to do is you need to get automatic item updates in place. Otherwise, it could result in a bad time on the actual day itself, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Boxing Day, and so forth. I mean, if you want to go further than that, there's API integration, but if you're not doing that already, it's unlikely that's going to be a priority in the next month or two for you with everything that's going on anyway. So that would be, for me, some of the top tips on feeds. If we move it along to campaigns, again, we're all fairly familiar with how a campaign's laid out. However, what we do tend to see is that people are creating campaigns, and the product group is ultimately, it has too many products in and not enough kind of granularity about it. So one example I seen last year was a retailer who sold perfume, and on the day they had a particular promotion on Calvin Klein's Eternity, the 30ml bottle. It was the cheapest on the market, and so would have been an amazing product to push on the day. However, the way they'd structured their campaigns, there was no way for them to actually be able to dig down into that product itself. And so what happened is they ended up missing a lot of opportunity on the day. Speaking to us after, this is something they looked to address immediately. And now if we were to look into their accounts again, you would see something more like the below. All products target as well, incredibly important. As time's gone by and retailers have structured their campaigns more granular and granular, often what gets neglected is the most fundamental step, an all products target. And you would be surprised, even with the most fantastic structures, how many times you'll be easily able to find, out of a range of 50K products, 5, 10K that aren't targeted. And obviously, when it comes to Black Friday, you might not even notice this until after the event, which again, it's missed opportunity for you.
Just one question on that, Ben.
Yeah.
So going back to your example about the Eternity 30ml with the promotion, the best thing, as you said, would be to break it out separately so it's more granular.
Of course, yeah.
I'm thinking then a really good thing to do would be to increase the priority and within the actual campaign. Would that be a useful thing to do, to change it from, say, medium to high priority because it is something you want to push?
Absolutely. If you should know in advance what products are due to be pushed on the day. Having this in advance, you can essentially create a set of campaigns that might be, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Boxing Day specific. Within them, absolutely what you want to do is you want to set that to a higher priority. It's one of the only levers you have aside from bid to really push the system to show a particular product. In this case, it would have been the Eternity 30ml. If they would have done this in advance, you probably would have seen, some serious benefits to it, because again, being the cheapest on the market on such a peak day as Black Friday is just incredibly invaluable in terms of driving sales.
Cool.
So maybe you've started to do this already and you're looking at what the next step is, because shopping is very much a gradient. You start from basic and you become more and more advanced. What you can actually look to do is start to include new splits, potentially by using custom labels. For instance, some of the ones that we see that are very popular are to segment products by their margin. This allows you obviously to tier your bids such that you're typically bidding higher and higher margin products. Although we have seen examples where actually the reverse is true, and that they want to push more traffic down the lower margin products because they know that actually the average order value as a result is typically higher. Alternatively, we also see price brackets. Again, this helps with your ROAS and CPA management. You're not bidding €1 a click on a product that costs €5. Furthermore, you can actually just look to break down subcategories more, like we showed in the last example. So in this case, breaking down shoes into not just sport as a whole, there can be very different subcategories there around football, cycling, and the relative peaks and troughs that those subcategories would have themselves. Furthermore, it also allows you, and something we'll get onto later, to set like your kind of mobile bids at a much more granular level. It could be very much that cycling shoes actually perform much better on mobile because people are out and about on the bike and they realize there's an issue, and they start to research it and solve it.
And just one question as well, Ben. So retailers, what would your thoughts be on, say, a bestsellers campaign? So if a retailer notices that 20% of its products are going to be absolutely critically important to users searching over the Q4 period, would your thoughts be, or what would your recommendation be there? Would it be to create a bestseller campaign for those products? Or what would you think? So
if you've got a really large account and don't have an easy way to quickly access all your bestsellers, a bestsellers campaign for peak period absolutely makes sense. It's a super quick way to access just one campaign, and within that be able to essentially control a large portion of the revenue you expect to come in on the day. So it could be that 10, 20 products actually generates you 40, 50% of revenue. And in that case, if you're tucking them away in a rather large campaign structure, they could be hard to find. On the day, it's going to be incredibly crazy and busy on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. We hear this from our retailers all the time. And being able to simplify things is absolutely a great step to take. Yeah. And I mean, again, talking about the priority you mentioned before, bestsellers campaign, high priority, aggressive bids, you're set. You've covered the majority of your spend and revenue for the day.
Yeah. Great point.
Cool. So again, just breezing by here, moving on to shopping levers. So feeds are absolutely crucial. They're the foundation of your house. Shopping campaigns are the walls. These levers are the nice decorations that you put in there. One of the most important for me is eCPC. Now, we're probably all familiar with eCPC from our normal Google search campaigns. However, when it comes to shopping, there's something really extra special about them. Something that no other third party can do, and something that I would definitely be taking advantage of, should it be me. So with eCPC, we all know that it can adjust bids up or down depending on the estimated conversion rate using a series of real-time signals that, again, third parties just don't have access to. It'll essentially allow you to bid at different levels for different queries. Now, we don't typically talk about shopping in the form of like keywords and so on, but we do know that one product might be triggered by 20 or 30 different queries. Within those queries, there's some of them that are definitely more lower funnel and much more kind of display much more purchase intent. So for instance, in the example here, if someone's to search for Nike Air Max styles, that's still fairly mid-funnel. You can tell they're not quite decided. They know the model they want, but they don't know color, shape, size, and so forth. Whereas if someone is looking for white Nike Air Max, 90 size 10, that's very, very specific. And that does signal to us that there's more purchase intent in there. Again, also buy Nike Air Max. It's the same. It's more of the same. It's got more purchase intent. eCPC will allow you to set your normal bid as you ordinarily do, and then eCPC will adjust up and down depending on the query. You can't get query level bidding anywhere else for shopping. It's kind of a must-have. Even if you have a third-party tool, speak to them about it. Maybe try testing it on one or two campaigns. Yeah. It should complement the majority of them. Merchant promotions, again, if you're running promotions on the day, this is just a great way to stand out from the crowd. As you can see in the example I've provided here, it really just draws the eye to it. Again, if price is fairly similar or you're just a little bit higher than your competitor, this can be another way to value ads essentially and convince them that you're the best place to purchase from. Product ratings. Now, these are huge. They get more and more popular and more people are opting into them. It can be a fairly long process, especially if you're not with an approved aggregator who will essentially just be able to quickly create a feed and send it to us, and within 1 to 2 weeks, your product ratings show up. If you don't use an aggregator and you're doing that on site, it's a much longer process. It involves creating feeds. You work with our you work with our product ratings team here, who kind of work to verify the authenticity of the feed and the reviews and so on. However, when you do get them in place, they're an immediate CTR boost. And with shopping, as we know, there isn't a displayed quality score. So CTR is very much one of your proxies for that. And this is, implement once and reap the benefits all year. Again, it also draws the eye towards it. And if someone is actually to search for best or top rated, we actually will order products from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, depending on how many units show up, solely based on the number of reviews they've got and the star rating that they've got. So, when people are searching for best and top rated, having product ratings get you in the auction. Without them, you're unlikely to see your product show there because we don't have ratings for that product, and so we can't rank it. Those would be 3 of the key levers for me when it comes to something that you can pull that isn't feed related or your shopping feed related or campaign necessarily, restructuring your campaigns and so on and so forth. From there, we have to talk about mobile. It's impossible to escape. This slide is something I pulled together using a series of popular retail and technology categories. And this looks at essentially from kind of mid-2014 to 2016, the kind of trends we see on the different devices. Now, one thing's obvious immediately. If you look at the uptick in queries in 2014, it's definitely noticeable. But kind of cast your eye towards 2015, and it's unavoidable and incredible, the rate of growth there. As you can see as well, even going into 2016 up to almost last month, the growth rate of mobile vastly outstrips computer and tablet. So if you ignore mobile, or you allow your third party, for instance, to downweight it because of a last click model, you're missing out on. We're talking 45% of queries last year. We can expect that to be 50 or greater. So you're literally missing out on half the opportunity.
What's really interesting about that graph is when you tend to look at trends in general and you split it out by device, say computers, mobiles, and tablets, generally what you find is that desktop starts to slightly decrease a bit.
Yeah.
But if we look at this graph, because of shopping and just the influence it actually has with retailers, it's kind of hard to believe and see that computer traffic is still on an upwards trajectory, along with tablet and obviously mobile as well.
Absolutely. The growth of shopping outstrips search, and it's because it just continues to grow. We continue to syndicate it to different areas, and
it's a big statement. Outstrips search.
Yeah, it does. And I guess one of the it's extremely strong in the lower funnel, and most importantly, it's kind of when we look at some of our retailers now and we look at where they're at in terms of like the percentage of traffic and spend that goes through shopping and their investment, it's we have retailers that go all the way up to 70 or 80% of their spend comes through shopping. Our benchmark for retail and technology as a whole is roughly 35 to 40%. So you can quickly get the idea that shopping is, in some cases for these advertisers, bigger than search, and it's more crucial that you get this right. The difficulty is that obviously, although it's not completely new, it's much newer in the techniques and optimizations and feeds as a whole can feel a little bit stranger to someone who's very much been used to a search world. But as the numbers show, it's unavoidable. You've got to find a way to make this work on Q4. And what we've seen some examples of is retailers actually turning off their third-party bidding or upweighting mobile, particularly around these key periods. If you imagine if all year your mobile's been performing at a 1% conversion rate, you can expect that to significantly increase in the lead up to Black Friday, after Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Boxing Day, January. And so if your system is set if your system is very much set to this benchmark it's been working to all year, it's definitely not going to be able to respond very well to a massive uptick in traffic, an uptick in conversion rates and conversions, and it will take it too long to adjust to the rising trends of the time.
And what's really interesting as well, if you just look at, say, Q4 period, so from October 2015 to December, the way the peak just goes right up. It goes back to your earlier point about the importance of having eCPC to manage the change in the auction, the increased queries, and to adjust the product bids accordingly.
Absolutely. It's this all the kind of things I'm suggesting work together, but like mobile is just so crucial on a day. Don't miss out on it, otherwise you'll be missing out on half the opportunity, the total opportunity available for Q4. And finally, I could have included this in levers, but I wanted to bring it in separately because it's just so powerful. RLSA and audiences. I don't need to repeat the stats there. They kind of speak for themselves. We see significant CPA or even ROAS. CPA decreases and ROAS increases from using a smart audience strategy. And the incremental conversions that it generates are significant. We're all used to talking about RLSA for search. For shopping, it's a little bit different because obviously you're not necessarily customizing the ad text to a different user, but what you are doing is very much driving as much efficiency as possible. If you're about to enter an auction with a user has just abandoned a basket an hour or 2 hours ago, a day ago, it was a fairly significant basket. Yeah. Would you rather bid on them the €1 you bid for everyone, or would you be willing to bid €1.10, €1.20 to ensure that you entered the auction and you were at the best possible position to capture that user and bring them back? For me, it's a no-brainer. Audiences, again, it's an unavoidable kind of march forward in digital. It's the future of digital, and again, for shopping, this is absolutely critical. In terms of what kind of lists to use, I actually find that using your search strategy, the audience strategy you've got to apply to search, is very much is very much applicable to shopping as well. However, what you can start to do is get a little bit more advanced by using some Google Analytics lists if you want to. Google Analytics lists allow you to do things like bucket people who added a certain value of products to their baskets, that visited your page a certain amount of times, that visit certain high category products. You know, it's just, it can be a lot more powerful if you really want to get in depth. One really cool example I seen was one of my clients had actually managed to stitch together their returns data with their sales data and essentially create audiences based off users who don't frequently return their products. So that's now starting to talk about not just a customer on its own, but the value of that customer to you. So, you know, are they a frequent returner? Are they a high average order value purchaser? These are all the kind of things that you can start to do with audience. Again, you know, we talk ECPC, that's about driving efficiency. Audience is about driving efficiency as well. There are absolutely things that if you're able to get your head around and get it set up in advance, it's going to pay dividends come Q4.
Great stuff.
That pretty much leads us to the summary. So, you know, I just wanted to cover 5 things today. I didn't want to go too in depth. These are like the kind of 5 pillars for me that will help you when you're shopping in Q4.
Yeah, great. So, listen, Ben, thanks very much. Really useful. Just to summarize the actions that we have. One is around feeds, as you hear from Ben. So the key action there is to ensure that you upload your feed as frequently as possible, and ensure you can respond to the price changes to prevent your most important products being disapproved in Q4. As Ben alluded to earlier, automatic item updates with the schema.org code that you need to put on your site is crucial and will really help there. The second bit is around campaigns. You know, you need to have granular enough campaigns to essentially have the most effective campaign management. There's a few different things we spoke about. You can have bestsellers, you can have like that perfume example you spoke about, Ben, breaking it out separately, increasing the priority. That all comes down to effective campaign structure. Very similar to search in that regard. And likewise for the levers that you need to implement as well to get the best. Most importantly, eCPC seems pretty critical coming into a peak. I think of all the things you spoke about on the levers section, I think eCPC is probably the most important thing. I know they all work together, but if you had to try one, I think that would be it. And obviously, similar to ad extensions in search, if you can get additional product ratings and any other, you know, benefits that you can include in your copy, will be most useful from a shopping perspective. And then likewise with mobile, you saw on the graph Ben showed there just how instrumental it is, how more and more of your customers are using mobile to find what they're looking for. The key action there is ensure it doesn't get throttled, and make sure you have enough budget in place to be there for your users.
Yeah, and then you're looking at what your third party is doing on mobile at the moment and how that's going to respond to the kind of, you know, the peaks and troughs that are going to come along very soon.
Great point. And then last but not least is audience. You're more than likely very familiar with it. No doubt you're using it already. But if you do happen to have any campaigns that are up and running and shopping and you don't have audience layered, I think it's really important that you go and actually get that done as a key action, probably before it gets into the hot and busy nature of Cyber Week and Black Friday, etc. So great summaries there. That's pretty much it for today. This is the first of 3 webinars / hangouts on air that we're going to be doing. The next 2 are going to be very much search focused. We're going to have special guests in for that as well. We're going to be covering the build up to Q4 from a search perspective, what you need to cover there. And then also, most importantly, what you need to cover when you're like 2 weeks away from Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and some key things you need to make sure you have in place for your search account there. So any questions at all, let myself or Ben know. And until the next time, we hope you enjoyed it. Any feedback, good, bad, or indifferent about this, let us know. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.